Hey everyone, this is Tiqqle, and in this video we're going over the Resto Shaman Covenant abilities. I've done Ellie, I've done Enhanced, check it down in the description below. I've broken down every single class, every single spec of Shaman. I'm doing the Resto Shaman review, and then we'll do an overall Shaman review. There'll be different videos because people play different specs. Some people don't care about all the other ones. But let's go ahead and get into it. Let's start with Kyrian. Kyrian, as you all know by now, probably, has two Covenant abilities like every other Covenant. You get this guy, Summon Steward. This summons a Steward. He comes up to you, and he has a potion on his tray. You take that, and you get it. Now, it doesn't work in PvP, which means that right away there's a little bit of a disadvantage by going Kyrian because one of the Covenant abilities isn't even useful in PvP or usable. I do think there's a chance that Blizzard could change this and it could be usable in Arena, but we'll have to see what happens. Now, this in itself is actually pretty useful. Heals you, removes his disease, poison, curses, and bleeds. But if you can't use it in Arena, it's not really so good. The only place you can use it is in BGs. Now let's go over the other ability, which is Vesper Totem down here. 1 minute cooldown. Summons a totem at the target location. The next 3 damaging spells will cause the totem to pop damage. The other 3, if you use a heal, it will pop a heal in that area for about 900. Now I'll go through the math with you here in a minute, because it's pretty important to break down the heals and the max targets. If you only care about the numbers, I'll put this down in a paste bin below, or just pause the screen here. You can get all the information you need. But let's go ahead and just show you how it works, right? So if you're healing, right, and let's just change some of those around. You're going to be putting down your totem, and like while you're doing heals or whatever, right? If I want to do damage, if I proc, if I put a flame shock up, it's going to pop that damage, doing about 1k at pop to everyone around you. Now, to be honest, that's fine and dandy, but we want to know about healing. So healing, it will do healing to 6 targets in the area. So if I'm in the area and I heal, it'll pop a heal on me. That heal hit me for approximately 900, and every heal that I do will pop the heal in the AoE for 6 people. Now for a raid, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good AoE pop, right? It's also pretty good for mythic pluses as well. If people are grouped up, you can do damage and you can do healing. When I'm going to review these covenants, I'm reviewing them not only from healing throughput, but also damaging ability. Because as we know, mythic plus is a very aggressive scene in terms of healers being able to do damage and help the team move through packs. Similarly, in raids, doing damage, if you know me in raiding, I like doing damage on my healers. In PvP as well, our shaman has been known to be a very offensive healer, with the purging, a lot of utility, shearing, and also damaging. So that's how we're going to be reviewing this and everything, just so you know. Now back to this, right? I'm going to be able to put it down, and I'll be able to heal in it. If I drop a healing stream, totem will also pop. I can also relocate it and then pop another heal. It will then do an AoE heal. So overall, the healing's pretty decent. The damage is pretty good. It's on a 1 minute cooldown, which is relatively low. It doesn't pop for a huge amount of damage or huge amount of heals, but it does pretty consistent, we'll be able to keep you up through some damaging mechanic in the group. So you'll be able to have, let's say you're healing rain down, you'll be able to be chain healing potentially, and having your totem there as well to give that AoE kind of coverage. You also, if you have earthen wall, could be going down. So you now have a lot of things that could do AoE coverage. Now, I do like this. I do like this for our shaman. I think in PvP, again, it's tough because, the Vesper Totem only is 5 HP. If someone sees it, they're going to pop it very quickly. So it makes it not really that great of an option for PvP. But if you're able to get it off, you can do some damage and healing pretty well, especially to help be offensive for your team and keep them in there. The relocating of it is very useful as well. You'll be able to make sure you get those 3 uses out of it, or potentially 6 uses because, damaging and healing on rotation. Now, for Mythic Plus, again, is very useful for damaging and healing. And for single target, it is actually pretty decent. And I've broken that down here. In terms of Kyrian, with 0 enemies around, and that's an important factor as we get into some of the other covenants, Kyrian is with 0 enemies around, you can still heal 6 allies for a total of about 8k every 1 minute. It's pretty good. And in terms of damage, you're doing about 18k damage if you max the targets out at 6 targets. So you could actually be contributing some pretty good damage. So I like this. Now, the conduit that goes along with this is called, I don't know how to pronounce that. Vesper Totem is 100% more effective against the target nearest to it. That means the heal, and that means the damage. This doesn't currently work right now, but it would mean that it would pop for about 2k healing. So overall, I actually like Kyrian for our shaman. Unfortunately, the steward option, that the healing potion, is not that special to me. The fact that you can't use it in PvP is also pretty sad. But it is what it is. So that's Kyrian, pretty decent, and I've given you the breakdown. Let's go ahead and jump to the next covenant. If you're watching this video, please hit that sub button. We're going for 20K subs before Shadowlands, and I know about 85% of you haven't pressed that button yet. So let's keep moving. All right, Necrolord, an interesting one. If you've seen the other videos, I've kind of given this a lot of criticism, but from a healing perspective, it does a lot of different things. Let's first of all touch on Fleshcraft. Again, Fleshcraft 2-minute cooldown gives you a 20% HP bubble that will absorb a lot of damage. That's crazy for PvE. It's a PvP. It's actually quite good for our shaman if you think about it. Stopping the rogue mage insane openers could be pretty important, especially because they will be going shamans more often now because they don't have Pack Spirit. And Earth Shield doesn't do quite enough healing. But with that being said, so it's overall a very good PvP defensive that's given. I don't like it. I think it's kind of broken, a little overpowered. I hope they do tune it down quite a bit. But that's that. Primordial Wave. This is the other option for Shaman. Well, the other Covenant ability. Blast your enemy with Primordial Wave, dealing 1k shadow damage, and applies Flame Shock to an enemy. Or heal an ally for 1k and apply Riptide. Your next healing wave will also hit all targets affected by your Riptide. This means I could even be offensive with it, putting up Flame Shock, but really it's about spreading that Riptide. So then when I'm testing Primordial Wave, I can really only get probably 4 to 5 stacks, or 4 to 5 different targets with Riptide running at the same time. But if I do have it spread out, it should be a decent way to spread that healing wave. Healing wave is actually a lot of healing. It does 3.4k, while healing surge does 2.5. So it's really your biggest heal that's going to be able to be spread, which is actually pretty nice. So I'll use it here. I'll use it on myself, and then we're going to use Primordial Wave on this target, and then we're gonna healing wave this. I'm going to use it once, and then it gets repeated 3 times because I got it on 3 different targets. If I got it on 6, it's pretty strong. It healed them for 5k. That's actually, so on my initial heal, I'll ignore even the hard casted lava wave, healing wave. I had 1, 2, 3. I'm actually going to get 3 healing waves out at once by casting just 1, like 3 additional ones, which is about 15k healing. If I can get that on 5, that's about 25k healing with no crits. And crits, we do love. So that could be a lot of healing, and I've broken that down here. In terms of Necro, the healing throughput is you get 1k Riptide on an additional target, then you get up to 5, we're saying target max, which is going to give you a 5k healing wave non-crit. That's going to be about 26k heals, and that's every 45 seconds. That is a nice cooldown for a healer. Mythic Plus, Raid, even PvP. PvP is going to be a little bit less, but at least you're going to be able to AoE heal your group. It will depend on your group composition, the type of comp you're running, but if you're doing something that's getting rotted down, that could be a good option. It's one of the drawbacks of the Covenant system is you're going to have to commit to one, and then no matter what comp you're against in PvP, maybe you would have wished you were a different Covenant for certain matchups, but in this case, this could be a good one in case your team is rotting down. Now, the thing I'll say is that the Necro's additional damage, you don't really get any additional damage from this. So this is a more defensive, more raid oriented one, I think, or a Mythic Plus oriented one, or a defensive PvP option. Now, I personally am an offensive player when I play our Shaman, so I don't know how I totally feel about this in PvE. It could be good healing throughput, but it doesn't give you that on-press damage that even the Vesper Totem could give you, even though that would get killed in PvP. So again, I think this could be strong across the board for our Shaman. For healing, for damage, not so much. But with Fleshcraft, maybe it makes up for it because it's kind of super duper strong. So that's basically it. I could use it to get a Flame Shock on a target, right? And then you see it kind of goes up, and then if I heal that, then Primordial Wave. Yeah, so it'll still put the Flame Shock up, which is kind of a weird mechanic. I kind of personally think it shouldn't do Flame Shock on an offensive target. It just doesn't do any damage, so I don't really quite understand it because it's not like that's going to be the biggest deal ever in PvE. So to me, it's a little bit of a weird interaction. It doesn't really make much sense to me, but I like adding another Riptide out there from a Raid or PvE or Mythic Plus standpoint. So let's go ahead and let's jump into the next one. Oh, by the way, the Conduit is a 20% chance for it to not incur a cooldown, meaning that I could heal, and then I could put Primordial Wave on myself, then I could healing wave myself, all 3 targets at once, and then it doesn't incur a cooldown, so it's like, let's see if it works. No, it still did. If it doesn't incur a cooldown, then I can do it again. I can use it again, and then I can cast another healing wave on everyone again. So it could be really good AoE heals with pretty good throughput, honestly. All right, let's go ahead and jump to Nigtht Fae. All right, so the Nigtht Fae one's kind of interesting, and I'll kind of explain, I will explain why. Number one, let's go ahead over the abilities. Number one, you get Soul Shape. When you use it, it blinks you forward, and it turns you into a little fox, and you can continue to use that blink for the duration of the buff. Now, it is good for mobility. It's good for getting away in PvP, and then in PvE, it could be good to get out of stuff very quickly, but it's not super powerful, but it's decent. Now, the other ability is called Fae Transfusion. Transfer the life force of up to 4 enemies in a targeted area, dealing 6k nature damage to each over 2.8 seconds. Pressing the transfusion again within 20 seconds will release 50% of the damage done to heal up to 8 allies around you. Now, you might think to yourself, that sounds like it could do some damage. I like the offensive nature of it. But it also is going to do some big AoE healing to 8 people. The challenge is this to me. In PvP, or even in any search situation, it depends on the number of targets you're hitting. Because if you hit one target with it, the healing throughput, as I measured here, if you hit one, you need to hit something. That's something to note originally, right? Like Kyrian doesn't need to hit anything. Fairy needs to hit at least one thing. And if you hit one enemy with the full duration of it, then you pop it, because it's based off the damage you do, it's going to heal for only 900, which is pretty insignificant. And the damage you're going to do on one target is also not too much. It's like 5 KS, which is okay, but not mind-blowing. And it also is a channel, so you're not going to be healing through that channel. If you hit 4 enemies, you're going to get a 3.7k heal to those 8 people, which is actually pretty decent. That's about 11, that's like a 14% heal. Not bad, but it's 2-minute cooldown, so it's kind of not that great. But if you hit 8 people with that 3.7k heal, if you have 4 enemies, you're able to heal 8 people. That's actually 30k, so that's pretty big healing cooldown. But to be honest, you know, if you're not in a raid, if you're in a 5-man, you're gonna get about 20k heal, which is okay, but you know, it's just, you're going to have to get that damage, and that's going to even take up your other healing you could be doing at that time. So is it really worth it? I don't know. To me, it's a hard sell for our shaman to pick Fairy, just because the healing it seems to be very dependent on what you're hitting. And in arena, I think, or PvP, it could be very hard, because if you only have 3 targets, it means you're going to get, you know, potentially not full duration on it. First of all, you might get kicked, and this is nature school. So if you get kicked on this, the channel of Fae Transfusion, it will lock you out from healing, which is very scary, right? I'll pop heal. Yep, that's 4.9k. So actually, it was 4.9 over heal, so that even is higher than this, but that's fine. It does do decent damage, though, I will say, but 2-minute cooldown, I just don't think it's really worth for a Resto Shaman. I just don't think, it's in the cards. I don't think it's necessarily that great. So let's go ahead and switch over to last, Venthyr. All right, as a Venthyr, you have 2 abilities. Number one is Door of Shadows. This is a shadow ability. That means if you get kicked on this, you actually will be able to still heal, which is a good thing. That's actually pretty nice. It also can use the Z-axis in PvP, which is kind of good depending on what arena map or what battleground you're in. Now, the offensive ability is called Chain Harvest, sending a wave of anima at the target, which then jumps to additional targets, dealing 5.5k shadow damage to up to 5 targets. Restores 2.6k health to enemies up to 5 allies. When it critically strikes, the cooldown is reduced. So 1.5 minute cooldown means if you crit 5 people, it's going to go almost down to a 1-minute cooldown, which is pretty good. So let's go ahead and use it. Let's see how much damage it does. Right, so we actually did a lot of damage. What? This actually does, wow, okay. I wasn't ready for this. It did why? 5.8k damage? And it crit for 11k? Wait a minute. Okay, that's not what I exactly had. When you're Enhance or Ellie, Venthyr is hitting for, one target is hit for 3.6k. For our shaman, this hits for 5.6, almost 5.6k. What? That's insane. Okay, didn't realize this. That damage is pretty significant. If you think about it from a PvP perspective, you're going to have to cast it. But if you get kicked, it won't be the end of the world because it's a different school. But damn, that is a lot of damage. And the other thing you'll notice is that I only had to have 1 enemy, and it went to other enemies. And then it also smart healed anyone around it. So I didn't have to, like, you know, select who it's going to heal, etc. The heal was for about 2.5k heals, which is consistent with what my other testing. But that's going to heal up to 5 people for 2.5k, which is, it's actually pretty good. And that's just weird. Very interesting that Chain Heal is that much more than Ellie. Ellie was 3.6k hits. So okay, so Venthyr, you need an enemy, could heal for up to 13k total. It did, in fact, have a kind of a decently long cooldown at 1.5 minutes. Man, I didn't realize it was going to do that much damage. So in my mind, really, what it is as an R Shaman, you have to weigh for PvP and PvE, your offensive and your healing capabilities. Because I do like doing damage, and I was doing an arena with an R Shaman that had a Chain Harvest. We both Chain Harvest at the same time, and the other team died. So it actually does a lot. The fact that this does this much damage is pretty shocking. That's about 5k is about 20%. That's almost 6k non-crit. And that is almost 23% of someone's health. Wow. Okay. That's actually a lot. So that's all. I'm a little shocked because I wasn't quite ready for that. I guess I didn't test the damage out earlier, but that's a lot of that. That's a lot. And you're actually getting quite a bit of healing. I got 2 crit heals, which is pretty good. The Covenant for... or the conduit ability for this Covenant is increases the crit chance by Chain Harvest, which actually, would make the cooldown go down and also do more damage. So the reason I like this one quite a bit is because it's a different school, so you're not going to get punished in PvP. And you're going to be casting things anyway, right? And you're going to use it only 1 GCD to get this amount of damage and that amount of healing out. I do like that. I like the teleport is pretty good. But yeah, I mean, that is really shocking. The only thing I'll say is it maxes out at 5, which means to me in a raid situation where you have a raid of 20 people, it's not going to be as good as Necro. Necro could be quite good on a lot of people, and you could switch it around pretty easily. This one is just location based to the target. So to me, it's a little bit, a little bit different. But I'm really shocked at the amount of damage that did. I'm not going to lie, I was not expecting it to do that much damage. And of course, I'm playing R Shaman, I gotta remember. So the healing throughput is not incredible, but at 13k, it's not the worst thing either. The damage that you're actually getting is significant though. So in terms of a Mythic Plus, maybe again, if you're thinking PvE only, I think probably Necrolord is probably going to be quite good. Kyrian's going to be okay. Necrolord's going to be quite good for raids. I think for Mythic Pluses, Venthyr and Kyrian are competitive. But if you're thinking about as offensive, if you want to go offensive, you go Venthyr, because that's crazy. 5 targets getting hit with something that almost hits for 6k. That's 6k times 5, that's 30k damage every 1.5 minutes. Kyrian can do 18k, but every minute if you max it out at 6 targets. So I would say these 3 are looking pretty competitive and very different, like a different play style. Venthyr would be more offensive. The heal's okay, but it's really about getting that burst damage out. So I almost think this is the PvP selection. Necro similarly could also be a good PvP option with Fleshcraft. And then Kyrian's kind of the neutral one in my view. But yeah, I mean, again, that's a surprising amount of damage. And but the Necrolord one is pretty cool for spreading for PvP, for kind of the healing throughput. The damage is nothing, right? No damage here, but kind of a good AoE type heal. Kyrian, it's really situational. On the position of the tank and the mobs and your team. But if people are outside of that, you probably won't be getting 6 allies hit with the heal, right? You're probably going to be getting the tank and a melee DPS or a few melee DPS, right? So that's something else to think about. To me, what am I going to pick? I'm probably... I'll make another video about overall Shaman, but if I were to pick, I would probably be between Necrolord and Venthyr, just for the raw healing throughput of Necro or the big damage of Venthyr. That's where I'm kind of torn between these few, but dang, that is pretty interesting. And I don't know if I think I'd have to check to see if there's other amplifications. Like Sky Fury Totem definitely would help with the damage, but again, I can't just focus on the damage, so that's why I would pick between those. I think Fairy's out of the running for Resto though. Kyrian is a decent other option though for sure, but these two definitely seem to be hitting the vein of it actually changes your healing throughput and your capabilities. But yeah, and the more I think about it, the more I think Venthyr, the amount of damage is shocking, and maybe it helps your Mythic Plus group, but this healing throughput is really, really powerful. So I think Necro, if I have to pick one, I would probably say Necro is the best healing thing. Venthyr is the best offensive one, though. It does seem that way, and by quite a bit. But I would have to say if I was going to go pure healing, pure PvE, Necro. If I was going to do both PvE and PvP, it would be a tough decision between these two. And if I want to just be a PvE boy, again, it's still a very tough one because of Fleshcraft. Let me know what you guys think. Put it down in the comments, and we'll see you on stream, guys. Twitch.tv/TiqqleThis, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every single day except for Sundays. That's all I got to say. Very interesting. I'll be putting this up on the paste bin down below. It's going to be a little disorganized, but it is what it is. Hopefully it can help you think about things and all the testing that we've done. Especially, I want to thank the Twitch chat. Twitch chat has helped me think through all this. You guys rock. I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Good night.